Voltron Nevera is the new for 2024 roller coaster at Europa Park. This is the prototype Mack Stryker coaster, and this ride is exceptional. This ride offers a forceful and dynamic ride experience, and it immediately became the premier attraction at this German theme park upon opening. It is fitting the best ride this Mack-owned theme park is now a Mack. I'll explain what makes it so good in this review. In late 2017, Michael Mack confirmed in an interview that Europa Park was developing a new themed area that would include a major roller coaster. A year later, Mack said it would be a brand new roller coaster type unlike anything currently out there. In 2020 at the Blow Loop V Expo, Mack said the new coaster would open in 2023. Europa Park recently has been publishing a book series providing backstories about their attractions. In 2021, a synopsis was found for a book set in Croatia about a mysterious apparatus built by Nikola Tesla. Since this did not match any pre-existing ride or country in the park, this strongly suggested a Croatia-themed land was coming, with an electricity-themed roller coaster. This proved to be correct. When getting planning permission for the coaster in summer 2021, Europa Park shared it would be a launch coaster. They also compared the attraction of Freizeitpark Park Plan's Dynamite, which was a Big Dipper model, but the new coaster was rumored to be an advanced version of that ride system. In early 2022, the park confirmed the ride would be built in a backstage area where a giant satellite dish once resided. The park also registered a trademark for the name Voltron, which seemed fitting for the coaster given its rumored theme. Shortly thereafter, planning documents revealed the layout. While the track work was completed by 2023, the ride was unfortunately delayed until 2024 due to lengthy lead times on some electrical and control components. While the coaster was not quite ready for opening day, it opened in late April to much fanfare. It's worth noting the coaster and its theming are complete, but the Croatia area is very much a work in progress. The full land will not be finished until 2025, but I'm certainly glad the coaster was not delayed an additional year while this is completed. What the park currently has looks fantastic. Voltron Station is set in a former hydroelectric plant. Atop this building is a Wardenclyffe Tower. This was an experimental wireless transmission device originally built by Tesla in 1901. Then at the far end of the layout, there's a second Wardenclyffe Tower. The ride's premise is that riders are turned into pure energy and are teleported between the two towers. While the second one is pretty difficult to see off-ride, the first one looks great, especially because the coaster's much publicized beyond vertical launch takes place alongside it. Then the coaster itself is beautiful. The black track and brown supports match the industrial vibe, and the layout is mesmerizing to watch, particularly if you head atop the observation platform that overlooks the ride. Because of how many trains this coaster runs, there are multiple running alongside the track at once. It almost looks as if they're dueling at several points. This adds so much kinetic energy to the land. This coaster has 7 trains, and it is capable of running all of them at once. Each train seats up to 16 riders, as they each have 4 rows of 4. This allows the coaster of a massive 1,600 rider hourly capacity. This is an incredible figure, especially for a major thrill coaster. A lot of rides struggle to hit their theoretical capacity, but Voltron has a higher likelihood of doing so. This is for a few reasons. 1. Nothing can be stored in the ride platform. All your bags and loose articles must go in complimentary lockers towards the end of the queue line. 2. The ride utilizes a continuously moving load platform. This gives guests urgency to load and unload quickly. 3. The restraints are lowered and checked automatically with the press of a button. This is the same system Mack has used in many of their newest coasters. The staff taps the back of each seat with an RFID band once lowered to notify the control system the row is ready. While on the topic of restraints, this ride's ultra-comfortable overhead lap bars, similar to the ones found on Mack's other coasters. They will come down snugly, but they are profiled in a way that you can fully experience all the airtime and lateral forces this ride has to offer. 4. This rides a single rider queue, so each train is fully loaded. It is also worth noting this ride has been quite reliable thus far, unlike a few other new for 2024 roller coasters. That is really impressive given this attraction's complex ride and control system. It opened an hour late for me one day, and then had 1 to 2 15-ish minute breakdowns each day, but that is not bad at all for a new ride like this. It is certainly a good thing that Voltron has a high throughput, because this ride has been immensely popular ever since opening. The ride has been averaging 60 to 90 minute waits most days. I imagine that will decrease somewhat in the coming months and years as the newness wears off, but I suspect it will remain the longest wait at Europa Park on average going forwards. So how can you avoid the worst waits? There are a few ways. 1. Visit Europa Park on an extremely rainy day. When we did this on a recent trip, Voltron was posted at a 20 to 30 minute wait much of the day. You will get wet, but you won't have to wait long. 2. Head here right before closing. The wait will be much lower than it was earlier in the day. The queue is kept open until the park's official closing time. 3. Head here at opening. But there are a few things about this approach. The park advertises that on-site guests get access to Croatia starting at 8:50. That's only partially true. What actually happens is the park drops the rope from the Dutch area at 8:50. Then you need to hustle over to Croatia. This is because the rope drop for all other guests coming from the main entrance occurs shortly thereafter, and it's about an equidistant walk. Or with the case of Voltron, an equidistant run. People sprint to this ride in the morning. So if you're not at the front of the pack and or willing to run, it is more prudent to return to this ride later in the day. 4. Utilize the virtual line. This is a free skip-the-line system on the park's app. It is linked to your park ticket. This system is extremely limited to avoid impacting the standby waits too much. You can book one ride at a time. You get a 10-minute window, but when you return, you should not have to wait more than 5 to 10 minutes. You are welcome to book the same ride over and over again, pending availability. Return times will run out, particularly for Voltron. This ride would run out by noon easily. Return times go live promptly at the official park opening time. I strongly suggest booking a Voltron return time immediately. If you do this, you should get a fairly early time. If you delay doing this, you will get a later return time, which prevents you from using the virtual queue for several hours of your day. 5. Utilize the single rider line. I used this several times. You still see a good amount of the queue line theming, and it's usually shorter than standby. How much shorter varied wildly. In general, a full wait on the stairs takes roughly 15 minutes. A full wait in the last indoor section takes 30-ish minutes. And if the outdoor area is filled fully, it'll likely take at least 45 minutes. 2 additional notes about the single rider line. First, if you don't have any bags or loose articles, you have an advantage. The lockers are just before the stairs, and the park lets roughly 20 to 30 people into the stairs in a batch. If you're at the front of the group and have to put things in a locker, people will pass you, extending your wait. Conversely, if you have nothing to put in a locker and are at the back of the pack, you may save a little time if you can pass people. Second, 99% of the time, you will get the left wing seat. Most people load the car in sequential order, but I did have one ride where a rider ahead of me picked the wing. On that note, let's talk about seating. These trains are set up similarly to Mack's Big Dipper coasters. 2 interior seats have floors beneath you, but you're elevated high enough that your feet will be above the floor. Then there are 2 wing seats off to the side. These have no floor, and they're slightly raised. I much prefer these seats. You are far more exposed, and the laterals are much wilder. I think the right side is slightly better, but the left side is great as well. There is one con to the wing seats though. They have more vibration. Most trains in this ride are very smooth. There's a slight bounce at points, but it's perfectly tolerable. However, as of this recording, I've heard that there are 2 trains that have not had their full suspensions fitted. This means these 2 trains are significantly shakier. During my visit, Train 4 was offering the roughest rides by far. It was comparable to a rough Gerstlauer coaster in terms of the rattle. The park is aware of this issue, and I know it will be fixed in the future. It is just a question of when. I think it would be wise to take a slight hit in the capacity department short term to fix these 2 trains. That way, everyone gets a smooth and comfortable ride experience, especially considering how long they'll have to wait. And before you ask, no, you cannot wait for a specific train. Likewise, you cannot wait for a specific row. Seating on this ride is 100% assigned due to the moving load platform. The one advantage you have in standby versus single rider is that your group enters the row first, meaning you can choose who gets the right wing and the interior seat. I got several rides on this coaster in many different rows. I think I like the back best by a slim margin, but all rows are excellent on this coaster. The forces feel fairly similar on most elements, but a few ride a bit better in the front or back. Now let's talk about the theming in the queue line. The outdoor section gives you a backside view of the old hydroelectric plant. This building looks delightfully weathered. Then there are pieces of old equipment lying about, including a water turbine that you walk through. It is a really neat visual seeing the water spiraling around you. The indoor queue starts by taking you through Tesla's office. You see all sorts of books about electricity and his plans for the Wardenclyffe Towers. Then you are dumped into a large room. There is a lot going on in here. In the center, you have a Tesla animatronic. He looks fairly realistic, and he alternates between speaking in both German and English. He exudes excitement over his newest inventions. Then the whole place is energetic, mainly because of the electricity. You have these bluish and purple lights all about the room, along with a loud crackling sound effect. Then there are also Tesla coils. There's one on the ground by Tesla, but more impressively, there are 4 on the ceiling. Every so often, they go off, and they are tuned to play the ride's incredible theme song. It is an impressive display of engineering, and it elicits full applause from guests. You also see the ride vehicles. On the right side, you see a video screen of a train teleporting back and rolling into the station. On the left side, you can see the pre-launch area, but if it's your first ride, I would advise not looking up there. You see, 95% of the time, there are these shutters that close whenever a train enters the pre-launch area. This hides what happens. However, there were a handful of times when the shutters did not close. I am unsure if that was intentional because it coincided with Tesla yelling, or maybe it was an accident. I had been good about avoiding spoilers for this ride, but this unfortunately spoiled for me what happens during the pre-launch. Now I'm about to delve into the on-ride experience, and it will start with that pre-launch sequence, so skip to the time on screen if you want to avoid knowing what happens here. As you approach the end of the moving load platform, you see a room illuminated by blue lights. You also see electricity crackling. You then round a corner past Tesla and some electrified coils. You then stop in a room and have screens all about you with electricity on them. All of a sudden, the track slightly lifts upwards, causing a reaction from riders who were not expecting it. At the same time, the music intensifies. Tesla is charging his machine, so the track starts to rapidly vibrate, then bounces up and down twice, offering some light pops of airtime. At the same time, electricity is flowing in a wave alongside you on the screens to match the motion. You then lower back down for the launch. This pre-launch sequence is a neat way to start the attraction. That is why I was a bit disappointed when it was accidentally spoiled for me. It is worth noting there are a few possible glitches in this room. First, there is a door at the end of the launch track that is supposed to be closed during the pre-launch. However, It was always open during my 2 days at the park. This wasn't too big of an issue for me because I knew the launch was coming afterwards. Second, the trick track stopped working at the end of my second day. What I found strange was that the track still disconnected and reconnected, even though it was not bouncing or vibrating. The visuals and audio still matched the usual sequence though. Third, the screens may not properly function, and it's also possible to get a combination of all three of these glitches at once if you're really unlucky. After this plays out, the launch begins. This is the world's first beyond vertical launch. You reach a max angle of 105 degrees during the launch, although it truly feels more vertical than beyond vertical on ride. The initial boost at ground level is just okay, but there is a second kick once you get beyond vertical. I find that second kick more impactful. It has solid oomph, and it sort of lifts you out of your seat if you're towards the back of the train. The only other vertical launch I've done to date is Wicked at Lagoon. That one is considerably punchier, pinning you to your seat. Maybe that's because the ride is two distinctly separate sections of LSMs, whereas Voltron is one continuous segment of stators. But Voltron still does have that second burst halfway up. This leads directly into the first inversion, an inverted top hat. You crest it very slowly. You get good hang time in the front, and even better hang time in the rear rows. After a quick blast of positive G's in the valley, you careen through a diving corkscrew. This element is fast and whippy, and if you're in the front wing seats, you get some excellent laterals here as you're pushed into the element. You still get some laterals further back in the train though. Next is a small speed hill. It rides similarly to the one on Lost Gravity. You get a brief but nice ejector pop. You then have an Immelman. This is solid G's in the ascent. The twist out of it is snappy, and then those in back get decent floater airtime on the descent. This is immediately followed by what I consider to be a second Immelman, although in the official stats, I do not see this element listed as one, so I'd actually argue that Voltron has 8 inversions, not the advertised 7. This element looks and feels like an inversion, so I count it as one. This second Immelman has nice G's in the ascent once again, but the X is even stronger. The twist is compact and rapid, resulting in okay floater in the front rows, and a good ejector pop in the back rows. Then you also get some sweet laterals, particularly on the left side of the train. The pullout contains an LSM boost. It's not too powerful, and it fluidly pushes the train forwards. What is unique about this section though is that it does serve as a block brake, and if the ride stalls here, it performs a swing launch to get you back up to speed. This is immediately followed by a large stall. This is my favorite inversion on the ride by far. It offers epic and super sustained hang time. It feels more pronounced than similar elements on RMCs because of the more open restraints. Not only do you have that glorious hang time, but you also have some sharp laterals entering and exiting the element. Next is a camelback. This offers great and sustained ejector airtime. It is reminiscent of a hill more commonly found on a hypercoaster. Then the pullout has a scary head chopper with a track above. This is followed by an S-hill. It is the one element that's a bit of a miss for me. It seems to be a bit too tall for its own good, so it barely has any airtime. You just get a little float in the back row. It does offer decent laterals on the left side of the train at least on the twist. The best part about this maneuver is if the ride is dispatched in its intended interval. When that happens, you narrowly avoid one of the preceding trains as it exits the top hat. Next there's a dive loop. It is really compact, so you abruptly snap 180 degrees and are pulled downwards. This is the main reason I prefer the right-hand seat. The laterals here are downright wicked, as they try to fold you out of the train. You then hit some brakes in the pullout and subtly jump upwards, but you're decelerating here, so you don't quite get traditional airtime. You more or less are tossed forwards, so you may want to watch your groin here. You then slowly move into a turntable located in the second Wardenclyffe Tower. This is the midpoint of the ride where Tesla has teleported you to. I was expecting the sequence to have more theming, but it's mostly an open room. You just have an illuminated purple ring on the ceiling and some fog. And awkwardly, you can sometimes see the outside world. You see, the turntable is where the maintenance bay is located. So this is where broken or spare trains are transferred. It's definitely weird this is midway through the ride. At least during my visit, if an extra train was removed, the maintenance door was usually kept open, so you can see the adjacent office buildings, which is a bit of a buzzkill. The turntable then rotates you 180 degrees. Interestingly, it alternates between rotating clockwise and counterclockwise between trains. The music intensifies during this and builds to a crescendo. You are then launched backwards, and this took me by surprise. Not that when in reverse, I knew that. Rather, how forceful it was. This is easily the strongest launch of any Mack coaster. It bent me forwards over the restraint, similar to something like Sandy's Blasting Bronco. I could not believe that Mack was capable of a launch this wild. This leads into a beyond vertical spike. You barely go up it in the front row, resulting in weak weightlessness. But the back rows go up it a bit higher, so they at least get some decent weightlessness. But it's still brief. You then have a forwards launch through some smoke. Not only is it visually cool, but the launch is solid punch as well. This starts the best sequence on the ride for Airtime. And honestly, it may be one of the best Airtime sequences of any ride out there. You have a conventional top hat. Everyone gets good ejector airtime here, but it's particularly potent in the back two rows. The negative G's last longer there. There, you start to float on the ascent, but then you are ripped skywards on the drop. The descent doesn't go all the way down to the ground, as you pull out atop the maintenance shed, but it is dressed up with some stones on the roof so it doesn't look too out of place. Next is another large camelback. This offers equally as strong ejector airtime as the first camelback, but it's even more sustained this time around if you're in the rear rows. This is because the resultant drop brings you all the way back down to the ground. I also love how this element narrowly whizzes past one of the Wardenclyffe towers. Then comes my favorite element on the ride, a large wave turn. This offers amazing and sustained ejector airtime while you're perpendicular to the ground. It's a memorable element both in terms of forces and visuals. I would take it over any wave turn that RMC has done. It is that powerful. But the negative G's are not over yet. You then have a double up. Those in front get two good ejector pops back to back. Those in back get an ejector pop on the first one, but the second is more like decent floater because the train has started to slow down. This takes you into a mid-course brake run. It won't slow you down one bit if the trains are dispatching normally, and this is also adjacent to a large tower that looks fantastic. You then have a short drop. It has a potent ejector pop in the rear rows as you'd expect, but this drop is so abrupt that it even gives an okay ejector pop for those in the front rows. This leads directly into another diving corkscrew. Like the first, this element is very whippy. It also induces good laterals on the wing seats as you're rapidly rotated. This leads into a low turn. It has very strong and sustained positive G's, arguably the best of the ride. It also looks visually cool. You bank alongside a pool, and you get really close to the water on the right side of the train. Then the track pierces through the aforementioned observation tower. Then the train swiftly navigates an overbank. It is not overly forceful, but the pacing is great, so it maintains the intensity of the prior elements. Then there's another corkscrew. This one holds its speed well, but it's not as whippy as the first two. Instead, this one is faintly floaty, but it still offers good laterals on the left wing seats. Then you have one last bunny hill. It offers great semi-sustained flagector airtime, and then you hit the brakes. You then head back indoors and return to the station, ending the 4,544 foot, or 1,385 meter long coaster. The length is one of this ride's biggest strengths. The overall ride duration is padded by the pre-launch sequence in the turntable mid-ride, but the main coaster bits are lengthy on their own. There is no shortage of elements here, that is for sure. In terms of pacing, Voltron's coaster bits are impeccable. You briskly move from one element to the next, with very little downtime. Most elements are forceful, resulting in a super intense ride experience. The only real moment to catch your breath is the turntable, but I can look past that because everything else is done so well. It sort of reminds me of the second lift hill in Twisted Colossus. Like that ride, Voltron has two amazing halves, just with a pause in between. It is also worth noting the main layout does not have much theming, but that's fine. The coaster elements are more than strong enough to stand out on their own. The theming is during the slower bits and the pre-boarding experience, which is what needs it more. So, with all that said, what would I rate Voltron? I would give this coaster a perfect 10 out of 10. This is a phenomenal coaster. The length and pacing are incredible. Then the elements are equally as amazing. This ride offers a smorgasbord of forces. There's hang time, laterals, positive Gs, and airtime, all in large and powerful quantities. Then the ride features a bevy of elements, perfectly balanced between inversions and hills. Then there are also some exciting launches here, some of the best Mack has ever done. The whole package reminds me more of an Intamin Blitz coaster in a good way, rather than Mack's other launch coasters. And last but not least, this coaster has great theming. There are so many cool visuals in the queue line. Then this ride also has a captivating audio score. There is one caveat to this ranking. It assumes I'm in one of the smooth trains. The rough train we experienced probably would lose a half point or a point. That being said, most trains are smooth, and the park has a solution in place to fix the rough trains. It is just a matter of when they do it. So if you're watching this in the future, it probably is not an issue anymore. This is easily the best attraction at Europa Park, but is it the best coaster for Mack rides? I am leaning towards yes, although I am still thinking over my final placement of the coaster. But in a nutshell, I think this ride has better pacing than DC rivals, better forces than Helix, and a better layout than Ride to Happiness. So those are my thoughts on Voltron Nevera at Europa Park. What are your thoughts on this coaster? Do you think this is Mack's masterpiece? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there will be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.